Hello and welcome to another edition of the Zoom with Our Feet podcast, the pod about learning photography, with me, your host, TMac, professional photographer, videographer, and teacher. Tell you what, you pick a sport, and this New Jersey-based photographer probably covers it, and has many award-winning images to prove it. On this episode of the ZoomPod, Mike Langish joins me to talk about his journey and the amazing visual stories he creates. Our guest speaker is in the photo lab. Let's talk to a pro. Mike Langish, welcome to the Zoom with Our Feet podcast. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So, how did this photo journey start for you?
The photo journey. It started for me probably, I think it was like 1981, 82. I got a camera, I have it back there. The Canon AL1 Pro, I think it's a program, for Christmas. And I don't know why. I don't remember. My parents just got me a camera for whatever reason. I must have expressed some sort of interest. But anyway, that was my first camera. And that's when it all started. And I had a buddy too. I'll date myself. It's not a problem. But 81, 82, I was grade school. And I had one of my friends was into photography too. So him and I would always, we would talk shop and things. And he got his first camera around the same time too. So we kind of did the journey together for a little while there. So that's kind of how it started.
What were we shooting back in those days?
Looking back at some of the photos, I mean, they're not good, obviously, but it was, I was a little surprised because I was into doing like a lot of light trails and things like that. And, I would do things like that, take pictures of cars going up and down the street and things and have the blur, the light trails at night and stuff. Took a lot of pictures. We had pets, dogs, took pictures of the dogs and things. And I could see, and then I was also into, I used to, when you start, even now you start out, but I was always into getting lenses and remember the Coke and filters? Him and I would go to the mall, buy filters and stuff. So we'd buy like the Starburst things and I would take pictures of like the dining room light and have the Starburst stuff and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. But it was fun. It was fun when we were learning. So
You were teaching yourself.
We were teaching ourselves. Yeah.
Those trails you're talking about are shutter speed exercises.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So that answers the question of essentially self-taught, like most of us in photography.
Self-taught, but also because again, there was no internet back then, and I had a couple subscriptions to a couple photography magazines, Popular Photography, and there was another one, I think. So I would go through that, and I would see something I like, maybe try to replicate it, imitate it somehow. It didn't always work, but yeah, that's how I started basically.
What type of photography now do you specialize?
I'm all in sports right now. It's all sports. And the only reason why is because just I love sports. And
what's not to love?
I know. I mean, it's true. I mean, but that's what I love, and I have to be entertained while doing it. I have to have an interest in it. If I'm not interested, it's just like anything. You're not gonna do well. And I do limit it to certain sports that really interest me. That's not totally true, but for the most part. So,
any other photography interests?
I did weddings for a little while. That kind of has waned away. And I've dabbled in landscapes, but there's only so much without traveling. There's not a whole where I live. There's not a whole lot of real interesting landscapes. So, yeah.
You need a team to do weddings, and it's too much pressure, man.
It is a lot of pressure.
I don't want to have to look at a bride.
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of running around. I did it for a while without help, which is just ridiculous. The last few that I did, I had my nephew helping me, which is a lot better. But it's still a lot. It's still a lot.
What sports do you specialize
So right now, I've now we're starting football season, so definitely football. So I'll do Rutgers football for the season. I'll do high school football. I got several high schools just in my county within 20 minutes of my house, so I'll do high school football. I'm doing Red Bulls still until the end of that season, but then you'll have fall football, fall soccer and stuff will happen, and then field hockey around here. Rutgers, field hockey and soccer. I'll do. That's kind of where I'll land now, probably until till the end of the year.
We'll get into some business stuff later. I want to keep talking about photography. I get asked all the time when I go to cover sports how I set up the camera. So, if you're going to do soccer, let's say, be it Rutgers, be it Red Bulls, how do you set up your camera? What's your process before a game?
As far as just the camera settings go,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just I usually set for I usually put it somewhere between 1600 and 2000, the shutter speed. My aperture is always about 3.2, 3.5, 3.2 usually I put it. And then the ISO is always seems to be a little different with me anymore. Um I found it a little bit of a challenge. Let's just say like it's not soccer, but we'll just say football at Rutgers a couple times where it's been a sunny, cloudy day and where the sun's popping in and out, and that really messes you up a lot. That messed me up a lot. So what I started doing is using the auto ISO, and that's actually helped in a lot of situations now where I don't even have to think about it because before I was really racking my head trying to keep up with the shadows and then the sun and the shadows and the sun and it just gets to be too your photos become too inconsistent really, you know. So I started using auto and that helps a lot. So that's kind of that's usually the setting that I said 1600 to 2000, 3235 auto kind of goes across the board for any outdoor sports.
It's like you take one of the three off the table so you can deal with
Yeah.
the others.
Yeah.
I totally agree, and I do it all the time.
Especially if it's, and I can remember last year, and that's kind of what pushed me over the edges. It was just one of those days. This when it's full sun at SHI Stadium at Rutgers, it's brutal. It's contrasting stuff, but then you start adding clouds, and then all of a sudden it's nice, and it's you got the lighting's good and everything, but then it goes back to harsh sun. And if you're in the middle of action, you're just I'm here trying to keep looking, trying to figure things out. I said, no, I can't do this. It's got to go high. So it's helped. So that's where
It
we're at.
just chases me. It goes up, goes down,
Yeah.
keep shooting.
Yeah.
What's your favorite camera lens combination? What brand are you?
I'm a Canon guy. I'm a brand loyalist, so everything is Canon. Probably my favorite lens is my wide angle lens, my 16 to 35. I use it a lot. Not so much for sports, obviously. For sports, depending on which. It's usually I have a 400 millimeter, 2.8, 70 to 200, 2.8. They're kind of the standard ones. But just for like bopping around type of things, or as an accessory to those games, I bring that wide angle. But I love it. I think that's excluding sports. That's my favorite lens
You
because
know,
you
it's
can't.
it's funny. You'll take, I don't know how many you are at a game, but you'll take this huge number of pictures. But if you have that 1635 and you take one of those, like at lower.com where the crew plays that I shoot, it's very symmetrical and there's some really cool angles. And everybody's commented on the 16 to 35 up in the corner.
Yeah.
Get the big wide, you got the roof and the lines and everything's like, oh, that's really cool.
So
And it's like,
what they do, like I'll use it at Rutgers at football. Let's just say several players, and I think that most teams do this now. I've noticed it's kind of a trend lately, but I noticed it first with Rutgers. Once they get introduced, they come running out of the tunnel. Then they'll go to the far end of the end zone and they kneel down and they pray. They take their helmets off, and so I usually I'm not allowed on the field, obviously, but I get right there, lie down. I get the wide angle, and I take that, and it's a really cool shot with them all kneeling, and then you see the stadium, and there's usually some smoke left over from when they came out of the tunnel, so you have that kind of floating around in the background. So that's cool. And then like at the end of the game, you get the coach's handshakes. You go out in the field. That's they can go out in the field then. So then I'll use the wide angle more there too. Obviously not during game action, but that's the lens. I really like it. Even like if I go on a family vacation, if we go to the Jersey Shore, I'll bring just that lens and I'll use that the whole week. And it's just I don't know, it just works for me. I like it, and I like some of the effects you get. Just being at a wide angle. So yeah.
What
And it's
what
funny you said something about taking a lot of pictures though. That's something I don't do. I don't take a lot of pictures.
well, throw out a number.
All right, I'll go back to football again. A standard college football game, I'm lucky if I hit 700. Lucky. And I know I'm not the norm. And I know a lot of people take 1,500 on up. I don't do it because I'm not a spray and pray guy. I don't do that. I don't ride the shutter. Um, and I don't want to edit and go through thousands of photos. I despise it. I just can't do it. It's not me. It's not in me to do. Um, so what I try to do is anticipate more. I think I know the sport well enough where I can anticipate, where I don't need to just sit there and ride there's times where I'm sitting at a game and I'll be on the sidelines and something happens and the guy next to me just, and I'm like, what am I missing? I don't understand there's nothing happening. And he's still, I can't do it. So yeah, I'd say I'd land about 700 probably tops. That's a high that's a high pitch day for me.
Yeah, but I get the notion that I shoot enough soccer. It's like my main thing. My kid plays college, and it's like I know when they're going to come together.
Yep.
Wait for it,
Right.
and then I'll a burst of maybe 8 or 10, and I feel like
You'll get
I'll get the two,
right.
maybe ball, all of that, and then okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
There's different assignments. Sometimes they want sort of a marketing kind of thing where you got player ball or in defense in some sort of body position, and sometimes those are cool. But most of the time, it's guy with the ball,
Right.
guy. So
And
I
to your
totally get
point
it.
here, if you have an assignment, a shot list that you have to get, so yeah, I can see doing that then. So like for who I shoot for, I don't have any of that. It's just go game action, shoot, boom, don't do this, don't do that. That's it. And I'm only really expected to upload maybe 35 on up, as many as you want, but they want at least 35 good photos. So I don't have to get crazy. But yeah, to your point, yeah, maybe if they wanted a shot of a player doing something, yeah, you sit there and hold on for a little bit longer. But typically I don't need to do that, so I don't do it because again, I don't feel like going through
In
thousands
your
of photos.
kit, in your kit, I love asking this question to photographers. Not camera, not lens, but what is like your must-have piece? It could be a piece of gear, it could be some sort of comfort kind of thing. What do you need when you shoot that's like always in the bag or always in the kit that's sort of not gear related?
I would say I would say the only thing I would have that I like to have that's not gear related is a towel. And you can use a towel for anything. Cleaning lenses, wiping your brow, whatever it is. I always seem to have a couple towels with me. And I have trash bags too for whatever reason. I know I for rain, if it happens, but I always have trash bags for some reason. Even if it's not raining, I don't know why. I just keep them in there.
It's so funny because in the pockets of most photographers' bags are garbage bags
Just
because
trash
when it
bags.
starts, you got to cover up the backpack. You got
Yeah.
to make sure the gears, it's so funny. And then in my advanced years, I got one of those collapsible stools.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I
yeah.
carry that in my backpack, plunk that down. That's like, for me, that's a must have because the days of kneeling, long
Oh
gone.
no, I don't know. I have a chair too, the same thing. But obviously I don't like for football. I don't bring it to football or anything like that. And then soccer, they have chairs there. That's mostly for high school and stuff like that. I use that
Right,
for a lot.
right.
But I always have a towel with me because I always find myself trying to clean the lens or I don't know, something's happening.
Yeah. Oh, no. Totally practical. Um, how would you define describe your style of image?
How would I define my style? I don't know if I can define it, other than I just try my best to get peak action. I have learned over the years, and it's been drummed in my head about peak action. To get peak action, my peak action 5 years ago was not peak action. Like now it is. So I try my best to get peak action, and I find myself, if it's a half second or a second late or before, I don't even bother anymore. I mean, that's not a good way to describe my style, because I don't know if I have my own style, I guess, but
Is it a visual aesthetic? Is it framing? Is it uh,
it's framing. And I think for me, my style is more in the editing that I do. I think I've gotten better. I'm looking over here at some of my things hanging up. I've gotten better with cropping as well throughout the years. But I have a couple presets in Lightroom that I use on all the sports photos. And again, you're not, you can only do so much when you're shooting, and you're putting them out there for, newsworthy stuff. But certain crop, a little bit of clarity, things like that. Automatic preset, just to open the shadows up a smidge type of thing. Um, so I try to be consistent with that part, because a long time ago I heard somebody say something about consistency in the photos, and that I was watching some online. It was a critique of photos, and the first photo didn't look anything like the second photo, didn't look anything like the third photo. Now, they might have been different subjects, but just that consistency of taking the picture and editing it looked like three different photographers. So that's always been in the back of my mind, that I always want my stuff to be completely like, if I gave you a sample of this, oh yeah, they all look the same. That's got to be his. That's his style. So that's probably, I don't have a name for it. Mike's style, I guess. I don't know,
it's
but
consistency?
it's
It's
consistency. I try to be
consistent,
anyway. I try to be
consistent look.
a consistent look. Yeah, I don't want to, because I think too, like if I put up a set of football and it's all different, that's not good. It should be consistent. Now, whether it's consistently good or bad, it's another story. But consistent.
Um, for folks that I get asked all the time about, so folks will learn what the term peak action is. So explain it.
Peak action is just that. It's so I guess it's this the simple a simple explanation or example would be, if so if let's say a wide receiver is going out for a pass, and he's got the defensive back on him. Quarterback throws to him. He jumps up, and he's just about, the ball's coming right here, and you're just about to catch it. That's peak action. If someone's about to get hit football, and not right here, but right here, that's peak action. If he's already going backwards and this guy's flying off of him already, that's, you're past it. But if you want to get that, you want to see the helmet shift, the sweat beads kind of fly out, that type of thing. That's kind of where you want to be. Soccer would be, the header. Have that ball not up here, not after the fact, but maybe you can get it and a little squished right on their head. That's peak action.
Yeah,
So that's where you want to be, because they're the most interesting ones. That's, if you put that up against something that's 2 seconds later, yeah, you say, well, that's okay, but this is much better. So,
it is the moment of the action.
moment of the action.
I know that because I get asked this a lot. Uh, they're like kids; you love them all, but tell me about an image that you're really proud of, and then the best part for this purpose is tell me the story behind how you got the shot.
I have a couple that I really like. They're actually at my other room.
He's looking around the room,
I'm
by
looking
the
around,
way.
but no, I have a few over here, but most of them are out there. I have them hanging up, but there's a couple I'm really proud of, and I don't think there's anything really. So all right, so the one picture I'm thinking of is, I used to shoot the Devils NHL, and at the time it was Corey Schneider was the goaltender, and I have a picture of him making a save where, and this was, if you ever shot hockey, it's different. It's a very different sport, as far as you can't, when you're assigned a spot. So luckily, I was able to get on the ice for this particular shot, and the Devils were at my end, and he made a save where I he was flopping off to the side. He was on the ground, and the puck was on his stick. He actually made the save with his stick, but I got his eyes, I got everything, and the way it's a great looking shot. And it's something that it's one of the few that I have that I would be like, yeah, check this out. I'm proud of
Was
it. So.
was there something in what you did leading up to that? Did you
I think
see it coming? Did you anticipate? Did you
it's
move at
all
the last second?
it's
How
all
did that
anticipate.
work?
I think it's all anticipation. You watch enough, you know what's going to happen. You have an idea of what's going to happen. You can anticipate plays happening. There was obviously there was a scramble in front of the net, and he went down to I think it was his left, and the puck came loose, and he was going to, and somebody took the shot, and he kind of dove right a little bit, and that's where I got the shot. But you could see it all kind of happen, and I think that is very important. Though you need to know the sport. You need to know at least the reactions of the players in the sport. You don't need to know. You didn't need to know the sport. And I'll give you, for instance, like hockey. My son played 10 years of travel hockey. I've watched hockey all my life. I think I have a pretty good idea of anticipating plays and what this person's going to do behind the net or in this whatever. I love lacrosse. Never played it. I love it because it's a tough sport. I wish I would have played it. I don't understand it, but I do know their actions, their reactions, and what they do, and what they're going to do when they move into this end of the field, and so I can anticipate well that way. Um, don't know it fully. The rules kind of confuse me a little bit, but I know enough where I can get it. But if you really know the sport, it makes it a whole lot easier. Um, and with that play, with the Corey Schneider double play, I mean, he was right there, right. I was right on the goal line, and the play came, and it was just, you have to jump on those anyway because when they go to the other end of the ice, it's a little difficult. So anything down my end, it's you have to be ready. So, but that's one of my favorite ones that I'm proud of.
I tell folks that want to shoot sports, one of the things that I tell them is go to little league games.
Oh
Go to
yeah.
Pee Wee games.
Oh yeah.
Go to right? They're not moving crazy fast,
Nope.
but that's where you learn what you just described,
Absolutely.
how the participants move in a different sport. Lacrosse, man, there's some high wire acts in that. There's some crazy twisting and turning. Hockey, same thing, and how fast it is, and
Yeah.
and all of the cues that you get. I mean, I don't even think about soccer anymore. I've shot so much. I know what they're going to do, um, pretty much, unless it's some crazy athletic kind of play. It's all mano a mano sometimes.
Right.
So you just kind of focus on those two, and off we go.
Yep. Yep. There's nothing wrong. And if for the people that are just starting out, and I know a lot of people want to jump right into whatever the college pros, you really should cut your teeth down in youth sports first. Um, High school, younger than that. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you're looking to actually make some money, that's really where you're going to make it, to be honest with you, because parents want photos of their sons, their daughters, and senior in high school, they want the final photos of them playing football. So it's all there, and there's nothing wrong with it. And to your point, they're doing the same things. It's just not as fast. And really, and they're not as big. They're obviously bigger, stronger in college and pros, but it's still football. It's still soccer. The fundamentals don't change any. So they're still, driving to a net or kicking a ball or throwing the football or handing the ball off to a running back. So yeah, I mean, learn that and then use those settings. For me anyway, they don't change. They're the same in high school as they are with college and pros. The conditions are the same. Yeah, right. The field's not as good, but sun and clouds, same. So you learn everything there, and there's nothing wrong with doing youth sports, nothing. And I would say go and work it all out there.
And I'm telling you, the good images there are the exact same images that are good even at the pro level. Those little guys and gals, the eyes and the body
Yeah.
positioning and those good shots, it's exactly the
And
same.
and actually it'll make you better because lighting, if you do like football at night, high school lighting at night is ridiculous. It's horrible. That'll make you better. Backgrounds, worried about backgrounds. You don't want the Porta John, or you don't want, some of it sometimes at that level, it's unavoidable, but you can control it to a degree. That'll make you better. That'll make you see better, look, frame things up better, worry about backgrounds. But, you start doing higher levels. Yeah, I mean, the lighting's great and this, you don't have to think that much. You just set your camera and go and just sit up. But down there, you got to work it a little bit more. 10 years, my son played hockey, travel hockey, and we traveled all, throughout New Jersey. And I can't tell you the amount of time. And I took pictures all the time. Took pictures of him. I took pictures of the other kids, gave them to the parents. They were all, oh, yeah, well, great, blah, blah, blah. The lighting in these rinks, for the exception of, I can think of like 3 rinks around here.
Brutal.
Brutal. I mean, just brutal. Like, if you're wearing a white jersey and the lighting is pink here, blue at this end, and over as the player skates down the ice, their uniform, if it's white, if they have a white jersey on, their uniform changes colors because it's reflecting off the ice, and and I look back and I'm like, this is horrible, So it makes you better. So it's cut your teeth at that level.
Yeah, man.
It'll definitely make you better.
I always tell people that, for me anyway, photography is good for the soul. What what keeps you going in photography?
Yeah.
How does it make you feel after all of these years?
So first off, I do it because it's fun. I love going to these games. I love being in those environments. It's just fun. But for me at this point in time, what I try to do is I try to be better than the last time. And that's my own, I'm not trying to be better than this guy or that guy. I'm just trying to be better on my end. Quicker, maybe more peak action, maybe less game action, a little bit more sideline stuff, or whatever. Just I always try to think of something to do that I didn't do before that was different, and I try to get, for me, my best football image for the next game. That's what keeps it going.
Well said. Um, I'm assuming you're running a business. Even a part timer like me is running a business. So, a couple of business questions about, I think, some of the people who say they want to be a photographer don't think about the business part. And so, if you had to give a couple of tips about running a photography business, which essentially it is, what would you tell people? Case in point, you said Rutgers. Is that a retainer? Is that an event per per event kind of arrangement? So talk some about the business of sports photography.
Like the Rutgers is just because I shoot for Cal Sport, and it's just all editorial stuff for them. And then whatever gets used comes back. So that's all that is with that. With the business end of it, more would be for the high school. And I would say, if you're wanting to make a business out of it, you need to reach the athletic director at schools. You need to reach parents somehow. Could be done through the athletic director, but that's how you're going to get it. If you're taking good images and they need something, you can provide something for them. Reach out to those people. They'll be your best bet. Coaches, athletic directors, or higher up, where they'll direct you to the right people. And that's how, like, because I shoot a lot of high school, I do it for Max Preps, and it's all just, you go out and shoot as many as you can do, and you upload them, and then whatever is sold is yours. So I don't have to worry about that, and I do have to edit, but you don't want to just edit and put them out on a gallery and just have them sit there. So you have to promote yourself to some degree. So that's with the socials, the Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. But also letting these people know. And then if you build relationships with some of these high schools in the area, you can, they might use you for other things. So you have to work yourself. You have to put yourself out there. And obviously take a good picture, but yeah, you have to offer something for that. And I wouldn't do anything for free if you're making it your business, because I know a lot of people do that because they want to get their foot in the door, but I don't necessarily know if that's the correct way of doing things. I never have. So your work is you're putting a lot of time into this. You're putting money into it with gear. Don't just give your stuff away. Have some, you know, be proud of what you're doing. And it's just like any other service industry. It's going to cost something. That doesn't have to cost a ton, but um, like I said, if there's a need and they like what you're doing, they'll pay you. So, but ultimately, get your stuff out there, contact the right people, and like we said earlier, if you start in the trenches, low youth sports, high school, there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. I know everybody wants to shoot for the go from point A to the Super Bowl. It's this no, it just doesn't work that way.
One of the I'm in sort of a unique position because I have a full-time teacher, work for a school district, so I shoot for the district because no one else can,
Mm.
so I'm not, but I look at it all as practice.
Oh yeah,
So I'm not shooting every day, but I'm shooting constantly, and I feel like my skills have sharpened over the time, say last 6-8 years, because I'm shooting everything, sporting wise. And one of the things I advise people, and you'll probably agree, is I find out who the boosters are.
oh yeah,
Who are the booster mamas?
yeah,
And ask to make a pitch at their next booster meeting,
yep,
kind of thing. And they kind of look at you. They're the ones buying the pictures, boys and
right.
girls. And they have events and they have all kinds of stuff that you could do at a cut rate and then for other work, as you said, down the
Absolutely.
road. Think long term, not short.
Yeah, word will get out. Parents will talk. They'll see, pictures of whoever, and oh, how did you get that? That's pretty good. Oh, so and so. Okay, if you, and they'll connect you. That's happened. I've had parents just from putting stuff out on social media, and I'll tag like the school, and I don't usually tag players. I know some people do, but I usually just tag the school, their athletic department, or whatever, and then parents catch wind of it. And I've had parents come up to me and pay me up front for a season to take pictures of their son who's a senior linebacker. Well, they played both offense, defense in high school, but his last year, go to all the home games. Give us what you can. I've had that several times. So I probably don't do enough of the promoting part. I mean, I could really push it if I really wanted to, but I do what I do, and it works for me. So
Yeah. And everybody's different.
yeah,
Like I don't have the time. I
no,
mean, doing this is, and I'm doing it by myself just because I have a video background, but I wanted to talk to photographers. This is the best way to talk to photographers.
that's
Just
true.
ask them.
That's true.
And there he is.
Yeah.
Last question. So you've mentioned it in a couple of different ways, but I always end with the same question, which is if you were talking to the 18, 20-year-old Mike about photography and what he needs to learn and what he needs to know,
Hmm.
what would you tell him?
I would say pretty simple because I've said this to other people, in the past, not too long ago. I would say learn the camera, know the camera well, meaning don't use anything else but manual. I'm a pure manual guy. Use manual, learn ISO, aperture, shutter speed, all that stuff, and how they all interlock. You can get to point A by doing this point B. You can get there a number of ways by learning those three. Know those three. Learn the basic rules of photography. The rule of thirds, leading lines, things like that. However, Sometimes rules are meant to be broken. So I'm not saying stick with them, but just have a foundation. I'm not saying you have to. And ultimately, if you like what you're doing, then you're okay. That's it. And don't let other people say, this is this. If you're enjoying what you're doing, that's all that matters.
Amen.
That's it. That's what
I tell I use an analogy with students. I say, before the person knows how to play jazz, they learn the scales.
Yep.
And photography is no different. If you learn those three things and how you can produce pretty much anything by manipulating those three things, you're off and running.
Yeah, that's to me, that's the bare bones right there. That's how you're going to know the camera. And at least if you know those settings, you're going to be able to take a good picture. Now there's obviously more things with composition and things like that. I think that comes in time and practicing. And again, though, like, I think some of the rules, you can kind of twist them and bend them, and you don't have to adhere to them. I mean, but yeah, keep your horizon straight. Don't be putting a field like this. That just blows my mind when I see those things. But you know what I'm saying? Just some of the basics. Get creative. Do things that other people aren't doing. That's another thing which is huge. If you're at a sport, if you're doing a high school football game and everyone's over here, you know what? Go somewhere else. Don't do what everyone else is doing. Yeah, go back, look backwards, go somewhere else. Do something different. Don't always follow the pack. Just because they're there doesn't mean it's right. However, they're all going to have the same shot. You might go over here and get a better shot, and guess what? You're the only one because you weren't, following the herd.
So true.
That's it.
So true.
Just, be creative, think out of the box, but do your thing and learn. That's all. Practice.
Mike, I can't thank you enough for being a part of the project. I wish you well. Hope to see you down the road sometime.
Yeah, maybe we'll run into each other again at another championship if it comes this way. Right? So.
Thanks, bro.
All right. Good talking to you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to the award-winning photographer Mike Langish. You can check out his work on Max Preps and on all of his social media channels. The Zoom with Our Feet podcast is a production of TV Commando Media. The ZoomPod theme is by Novembers and their funky groove, Cloud 10. Until next time, photographers, if you're not shooting, you're not learning.